Hello, everyone. It is Tuesday. It is the podcast. I'm your host today, Ross Chanley. People are watching will obviously see there's no Paul, no Chris. They're both on holiday, taking a well-deserved break and recharging for the new season. But to compensate, I have got the best lineup known to man or woman, or however you identify. Georgie Stevens joining to me, James Sutton and Sam Walker. Thank you all very much for joining me. Lots to get through today. We're going to talk a bit of pre-season, our thoughts so far, and then we're going to get into some Liverpool and Premier League predictions for the new season. So feel free to join in the comments below as we do go along. But as is tradition with this podcast, we have some kick-off questions. James Sutton, I want to start with you on this one, because I feel like you're going to have a tasty answer. Our good friend Sachin Nakrani, I love Sachin, he's such a good follow on Twitter, so do go follow him. And it's important to remember in this, James, Sachin Nakrani of The Guardian, he could have asked any question. There was no brief in this, it was just adding a kick-off question. So Sachin's gone with, would you rather piss yourself every time you stood up or shit yourself every time you sat down?
This question's come from like a reasonably respected journalist.
Yep,
with a huge following. I love him. And
yep.
This is the question that he's decided to pose for us.
Yeah.
Is that someone needs to check on him, make sure everything's okay at home?
I did. He's fine.
Is he fine?
He's lovely. It's fine.
I can't answer this. It's awful. What an awful question. I mean, does anyone have a funny answer to this?
George had an answer. Georgia was all up for this before the show started.
Go to Georgia.
Georgia was talking quantities and pregnancy and all sorts before the show started.
So, my only thing was, right, I'm with James. This is a weird question. I said to Ross, I'm very uncomfortable with this. This is just weird. There's no, what do you gain from an answer from this? Nothing. But the only thing it doesn't specify is quantity. Like, it doesn't. And what I'm saying is, women after pregnancy, they sneeze and like they wee. So what I'm saying is, like, standing up and weighing yourself seems the lesser of two evils here.
Sam?
I can't believe you two are sat there and you're actually putting sitting down and shitting yourself in the same bracket as pissing yourself. I mean, like, I would piss myself all day. Like, you know, it's not very nice. It's not very nice, but it's like,
that's getting clipped up, by the way.
However, shitting yourself. I mean, like my son. This is like crazy. My son runs around. He's potty training, and it's like Eli, and he's weed himself, and he doesn't care. He cracks on. As soon as he's had the poo, mate, he's over. Dad, yeah, it's that time again. So, like, you know, if he's 2 and he can deal with, I think, you know, that's got to translate to adulthood. Sure, like, imagine shitting yourself every time you sat down and going. No, mate, no. It's got to be we. Come on, let's just be real here for a minute. I'll put it out there and say it we're all thinking. Piss myself standing up.
I just wanted... I'm saying I'd piss myself all day.
That's the standard for this show. Paul Grister away. I won't be doing this again. So let's move on to the next one. James, I'll come back to you. Do you have beans on a fry-up? It's a two-part question. Do you have beans on a fry-up? And who would win in a fight between a monkey and a bear if the monkey had a knife?
Of course I have beans on a fry-up. What kind of pervert doesn't have beans on a fry-up?
They're out there.
Like... No, yeah, but okay. So Americans find it really weird that we have beans with our breakfast. They can't get their heads just completely fall off when they find out that we have like Heinz beans with sort of sauce and that. But without that, like, where are you getting your moisture from? Where's your, you know what I mean? What's helping you masticate your food? What's helping it? You know, it's always beans and shitloads of brown sauce. They're the rules. I don't make them. I just adhere to them. Second question. Did you say monkey? Did you say monkey with a knife?
Yep, against the bear. The bear doesn't have a knife. Just the monkey has a knife.
What kind of monkey are we talking?
Whatever monkey you want, James, with whatever knife you want.
Well, because if it was like a little macaque thing, like the bear had messed it up. But if it was like baboons, I remember reading about a woman who got her face ripped off by a baboon. Did you ever hear about that?
Yeah.
Baboons are vicious, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon a baboon with a flick knife could do some serious damage to a. But are we talking brown or black bear? Because I think the brown bear is the more vicious of the two. I think.
But just to counter that, James, if it is a macaque, would they not be more agile and the bear would struggle to get hold of the macaque? Because obviously, I know bears aren't slow per se, but a macaque could be a bit agile and dodge the.
It's an interesting one. I'd like to see it happen. I think, yeah, I'm gonna go with the bear with the knife. I think, yeah,
The bear hasn't got a knife. The bear hasn't got a knife.
No, the monkey's got the knife, hasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
I've not been awake for very long. I'm definitely gonna go with the monkey with the knife.
Okay.
Yes.
Georgia, beans, bear, or monkey with knife?
Come on a football podcast. Come talk
We'll get there in a minute.
Liverpool.
We've got the YouTube comments to that.
Being to the fry up, yeah. I do agree. I think more a chimp with a knife because they're like more cognitive, so we know what to do, how to use a knife, properly. So I'm going chimp with a knife.
Yeah, Sam.
Beans all day. Yeah, agree. It's a ridiculous question, to be honest. And the bear and monkey, I reckon the monkey's cheeky little monkey's going to dance around with a knife like Floyd Mayweather, sort of jabbing in, doing some damage on the bear. Eventually, the bear is going to get hold of the monkey and absolutely destroy it, and win. But then the bear dies of, basically once the adrenaline's gone, bleeds out because of all the jabs that the monkey Mayweather's put in. Sort of just jabbing. You know what I mean? That slick movement, because that's the way that the chimp's going to move around, isn't it? So I think once the bear sort of grabbed it, but because of all the damage the monkey's done early on, eventually the bear dies. So it's kind of like a draw with the bear kind of winning first.
Everyone in your scenario, everybody dies.
Yeah. Because I just think the monkey's going to be too slick boxing.
Yeah. We'll go with that. Okay, everyone dies. If anyone's got any thoughts or comments on either of those, feel free to get in the comments. Georgia, we're going to get to some football chat and the people at home who are listening and watching. Don't worry. We're going to get into that. But firstly, a nice little surprise. Some slightly breaking news. Our new book is available for pre-order. It's huge. It's massive. It'll keep you entertained for hours. There's loads of art, including George's, by the way. On the back of our Jordan Henderson documentary that we did, Tom has prepared a lovely little advert. If you want to go and pre-order it now, you can do. We've got some signed copies and some standard copies. There's signed copies absolutely flying out. I put 100 for sale on Friday and we sold out of them, so I've had to put some more on. So go and be quick, and here's a little advert.
Hey everyone, our brand new book has landed. Hendo, 10 Years a Red, premium collector's edition, the definitive Jordan Henderson collection in A4 size, 200 pages, full colour, incredible insight, in-depth knowledge, and the stories of his rise from a young boy in Sunderland all the way through their academy to the Premier League, taking the captain's armband, becoming the captain, and leading Liverpool to be champions of everything and beyond as well. It's got his greatest moments season on season, some incredible, unique, phenomenal custom artwork from some of the best Liverpool artists on the scene, incredible high-definition photos of his best moments as well. It is an incredible Jordan Henderson collection, and it fits right in your hands, just about. It is a behemoth of a book. It is incredible, and it is available right now. You can get it and you can learn more about the Liverpool skipper from the people who are closest to him on that journey. Friends, family, coaches, players and managers. Yes, it is Hendo, 10 Years of Red, and it is available right now on redmenmerch.com. Get involved.
Yes, that is our lovely new book by myself, Ben Kelly, and Paul Machin. Please don't go get that. I'll get Tom to put a link in the live chat and in the description if he doesn't mind. Thank you, Tom. Go and get hold of that while you can. Right, let's talk some football, shall we? Sam, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to do a bit on Liverpool's pre-season so far, but I'm just going to start with transfer business so far, or lack thereof. Obviously, we bought Konate, and there's kind of a lot of nothing going on at the minute. There's loads of links left, right and centre to other players, but the main crux of what Liverpool's lack of activity, I think, is we need to sell some players first. And it feels like when you go on social media, I feel like I've missed something. So to me, my perception is we need to sell Shaqiri or Origi before we can do anything. And there's loads of people just saying, just go and spend money. And Liverpool found themselves in a situation where it's difficult for them to do business right now.
Yeah, I think we could go and buy someone. It would just mean that we would then be in a situation where we have to sell someone in order to make sure everybody that's there is registered if the person we bought wasn't homegrown. So I suppose, yeah, but I think Liverpool Football Club have always been a bit too smart for that. We don't know what's going on, which, when I've got my head on, I'm happy with, because I think that's the way Liverpool should be. And I'll be honest with you, I wave from head to heart to head to heart. Head being that, if we had started the season with everybody's squads that at the end of last season, next season, with all the guys who could come back, maybe we'd already signed Konate in like April, I'd have been absolutely buzzing for the season. Think we can do loads of things, but the sort of the heart's kicking in now where I'm seeing Harry Kane doing what he's doing. I'm seeing Grealish basically at City's door already. I'm seeing United sign everybody, and you start getting a bit panicky. And something Chris said a while ago about the biggest fear this summer being that everybody else does huge business and we kind of don't. I think that's where I am at the moment. I'm calm, but then every now and then I have a little sort of quick heart palpitation where I'm a bit concerned that we're falling behind. But let's just hope Liverpool are doing what we always do and keep things quiet and drop the bomb when we need to.
Yeah, it's. I think I agree with that, James. It's difficult to kind of assess it, and it's important to remember there's a month left of this transfer window, by the way. It's not like you need all your players in before the start of the season, although it helps with pre-season and learning tactics and stuff like that. But Sam's right. I think there was always a question of what would this window be like this summer. Like we knew last summer was kind of a whitewash. No one had any money. Everyone was worried about transfers and revenue because there was no fans in stadiums. We didn't know what was going on. Whereas now we're getting towards that. Well, fans are coming back. What happens? And Sam's right. When Man United start spending £80 million on, Jadon Sancho, be it, guilt money for the Super League or whatever it is, or whether they're trying to please the fans, but you do have to be concerned, don't you? Because they were 5 points ahead of us last season and we were terrible. They conceded more goals than us. So I can make a case to say that they need to make up that because their team is far behind ours. But I think people are stuck on last season and how we played, and I don't think it's quite the same, is it?
Yeah, I agree with all that. Sam's right. I'm very similar. I go from feeling quite okay about the situation, and looking at our starting 11 or our starting sort of 15 players. If they're all fit, we're in a really, really good place. We've arguably still got the best starting 11 in the Premier League. The worry is, you can't account for injuries. Our depth, our squad players, the drop off is still huge. We're still looking at, if the season started tomorrow, our backups are Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott, Minamino's still around. Naby Keita, obviously, I know we'll get onto him later. He played the other day. Oxlade-Chamberlain, these are not players that I think a team that wants to be challenging for honours should really be relying on as backup. And because of the nature of your player, because of the intensity of the Premier League, and because of, it's not actually been a huge break for the lads. I worry that one or two injuries, and we're in a similar situation to that we were last season, and all of a sudden, the wheels fall off, and you don't want to be in a position where you're constantly patching things up. He'll do a job there. He'll have to play there. We'll have a. I think arguably our defensive problems, should have gone away now with the arrival of Konate and the fitness of the other lads. But I worry, and I know it's been talked about to death, but I worry about losing Gini Wijnaldum and not replacing him. I really do. That's a huge number of games. And yes, I know Klopp's preferred midfield is Henderson. Fabinho and Thiago, but one injury to that, and all of a sudden, like I say, we're patching up players and dropping in players that aren't as good. So I am worried. I am concerned, but I like to think that we're going about our business quietly behind the scenes as we do, and all of a sudden there'll just be these world-class players arriving, and it'll all look fantastic again. If we don't get anyone in, I'll be incredibly surprised.
Yeah, I think I go along with that, George. And as James says there, I think those players will come in, but it's kind of like hope and going off evidence of what happened previously. Even the Trent stuff, which we'll come on to later on, wasn't really spoken about, and then bam, it was done, which kind of solidifies your faith in the system and kind of what's going on. I used the term mess before when I asked Tom this before the show, but Liverpool got themselves into a bit of a situation where the fact that we all know they need to get rid of Origi or Shaqiri or Minamino, and then kind of fill a non-homegrown quota. I think most of those players would have gone last season, or certainly some of them, having not been in this situation, but other teams will know that as well. So then it's a bargaining tool for other teams to go, well, we know you need to sell Origi, we'll just stall on a price, and then this is why it's dragging out, potentially.
Yeah, I agree. I think when you kind of look across the board, not many teams have done massive offloads. I mean, in the Premier League at least, and I think we're in that position where, like James says, it's those fringe players that we need to swap out and upgrade almost. I think for me it is that midfield that we are lacking, them backups, and the only way that we are going to get that is, like you say, offloading those players. And I think for the likes of Shaqiri, it's a bit different because the ones where we, and even Origi to an extent, I think we will get back what we've spent on them. Whether we make those huge profits is unknown, but like we said before, it's not like they're buying super informed players. This is probably the most informed Shaqiri will be, and we'll probably get the highest price we will get for him, considering the Euro performance he'll have. I think Origi will be difficult, but Minamino, again, he did all right at Southampton. It's some players, some teams, he'll do a job for them, and I think, again, we're not going to get the massive price that we want for him probably, but I think we will probably make money back from the Shaqiri deal, and that'll hopefully, sort out a few of our issues.
Sam, are you going to drive Origi down to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium if Harry Kane goes to Man City?
Yeah, oh God, honestly, I think it's interesting listening to you guys there as well. I think Shaqiri and Minamino, I personally think all three of Shaqiri, Minamino, and Origi should be surplus to requirements now. That's just my opinion. I know some people probably want to give Taki a bit more time, and that's absolutely fair. I've kind of personally already kind of written him off, which is quite harsh, but I just feel style-wise he doesn't fit. There's not that he's not a good player, because he is. I just think stylistically it doesn't really work for us. We haven't got a position for him as such. I think we could easily offload Minamino and Shaqiri. I think we will offload Shaqiri. I think Minamino, if we want to sell him, we could probably get 10, 15 million for him, which would be, double the money, wouldn't it? I think Origi's a tricky one, but at what point do we just say, we've had your value, we've had your 10 million's worth and more? If we get 6, 7 million for you, I think we got £6 million off Wolfsburg for a loan fee once. We've probably had that back already off loans for him and stuff. So, personally, I would take what we can get for Origi. I think the club and him and the fans just need to sort of now take separate paths. And I think that's kind of what's holding us up as well, because I feel like, from what I hear in the press and from, the little memes around, that Origi's happy with where he is and what he's doing. And that's not a positive thing. We need footballers who want to play and are desperate to play and are hungry. That doesn't sound to me like a hungry footballer. So Spurs is optimistic. I think you probably got more chance of Leyton Orient than Spurs at the moment, to be honest.
So, and when you say that those players are surplus to requirements, Sam, to James's point, they all need replacing as well, don't they? With quality.
I don't think they all need replacing. I think we've got Jota in, which was an additional player, which we didn't sell anybody. Well, Bruce would never kick the ball in league football for us. So we've got Jota, we've got Harvey Elliott. I would say we probably need to bring in one. And then because we've got players who can play wide left, wide right in the number 10. We've got Jota, we've got Manny Salah, Firmino, we've got Curtis Jones who can push up from time to time, we've got Oxlade-Chamberlain fitting, we've got Harvey Elliott who's an exciting young talent. I think we need one more who's maybe of the Jota ilk in terms of level and quality and hunger and position in their career. The guy, for instance, at Lille that we're talking about at the moment, that would be a fantastic sort of idealistic signing. Is it David, the striker? That kind of move would be perfect. I don't think we need to replace all three. I think we need one to get rid of three, because at what point did we ever really need all three at one time? I can't even think of a time they've all even been on the pitch in the same game.
But that might be the case if, they weren't used because they weren't good enough, or the strikers that we had were running to the ground. James, just to follow on from that, I agree what you said before about getting players in. Some of the links that we've seen over the past few weeks, obviously some of it is just bullshit and some of it is quite solid, but some of the more solid ones that we've seen have been the likes of John McGinn and Jarrod Bowen. I can tell by your face that does not excite you.
No, I'm a big fan of John McGinn. I think he's a really good age. I think his numbers are really good. He's hugely respected at Villa and the job he's done there. And a player of that ilk, I think that's good if you can get him. But they would demand a huge fee for him, and that's where the sticking point comes from. We're not going to throw that those figures around. We need goals from midfield as well, man. We need other players to start chipping in with goals, because there's such pressure on our front three, and that you can feel the frustration in the crowd. You can feel the frustration on the pitch. We players like Oxlade-Chamberlain, in his pomp, bursting through and getting on the end of something, slamming in a 30-yard. That's the kind of player that we need, for me, to just share that responsibility around a little bit, because we don't want to get in a situation, we get an injury. I mean, Sam's right to bring Jota into it, because that was a fantastic signing. That's great backup. That's a great option to have there. But I just feel like we need one more striker, one more midfielder, and I don't think we're far away. But those players, if we do get those 2 players in, they need to be challenging immediately for the starting 11 and not just squad players. We need people that are going to come and challenge, you know. And you talk about, you know, the age of our squad as well. That's another thing. You know, these lads have only got 1 or 2, you know, certainly up top, only 1 or 2 years left in them before, you know, questions need to be asked and difficult conversations need to be had. So that needs to be something that needs to be brought into the equation. Let's just spend some fucking money, guys. Come on.
Yeah, come on, John. Stop spending it on tits and yachts, will you? And fucking get a player. So, George, I was going to wait a little bit, but James has kind of touched on it there. The other gamble is, and why people are so concerned, and James is right, is, you know, he's mentioned Oxlade-Chamberlain there, and it's the same for Naby Keita. Now, James has just described getting more goals from midfield, and, you know, probably that goes for assists as well, I'm guessing. And the creative midfielders that we do have, we have them. They're just not fit. And that's the other gamble, you know, especially with the last season with the defenders and stuff like that. You know, if the track record of Naby Keita and Chamberlain was amazing, you know, I'll probably go into the season and this transfer window and go, well, actually, things aren't that bad, but they're not because of their injury record.
Completely, and we had similar issues, I remember, with storage and things. Of it's one of those of when they're in form and they're playing, it's like happy days, like, look at this exciting player that we've got. But the fact is they're not in form a lot and they don't play a lot because of the injury history. I mean, the promising thing is the amount of minutes they're getting in pre-season and how kind of sharp they do look. I mean, Naby especially, everyone's sort of loving the things he's doing at the moment. So we've got to go into it optimistic, because I think that's the only thing we've got at the moment, because we do have those players and we do have the gaps and the pieces that we need. It's just hopefully that they finally fall into place as the season goes on. Like I said, I am realistic. I don't think either of them will be fit fully for the whole season. What I am hopeful of is maybe that they kind of align with each other, of it, the burden shared between them. And hopefully, you know, we can see enough of both of them during the season that it doesn't feel like we've got 0 midfielders.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it, Sam? You know, that Naby Keita stuff, I'll admit, I'm slowly being hooked back in. Some of the stuff that he's doing, the fact that, you know, he played an hour the other day, which is like, you know, I was blown away by that. But even his style of play, to carry on James's point before, of the midfield, you know, it was winning the ball back in, you know, in their half. It was one touch, bam, and then we're inside the box, and we know we get a goal from it. We've lacked that, you know, our transitional play at times. You know, last season we didn't have midfielders; it was too slow. But I think we've been guilty of, certainly against low block sides, of being too slow. Naby brings that, and it's frustrating to see how he plays and what he can bring to this side, but he's never fit. So I'm going to ask you also, I'll start with Sam, if you were to give a percentage on where you're at with being hooked in by Naby Keita, if you think he can be either managed or produce this season, what would you be at?
I'm all in with him. I think he's a good footballer. If we want a midfielder, he's the one we want to go and get, but to stay fit. So always back the team, always back the club. You know, if they think they can get enough out of him this year, enough. No, he's not going to be a starter, 51 games like Ginny, but I'm all in with him. I'm 100%. If they're keeping him, then I want to see him on the pitch a lot this season to get the most out of him. So I'm all in.
Yeah, James.
Yeah, similar to Sam. I'd written him off. I'd written off his Liverpool career, but after watching him the other day, I am ready to get hurt again.
Georgia, same.
I literally echo what James is saying. Is it happens every year. We say no, we're okay, we're not getting back in, and then we're starting to look at getting number 8 on our back all over again, and we're very excited.
Sam, is there a slight difference this year? Jurgen Klopp, and I said this on a show last week, I think it was the Tactical Times. If you don't follow Tactical Times, Mick, he's boss. He pointed out that Ox and Naby have been fit for months, and Jurgen didn't play them because we were rotating the squad, we were changing centre-backs and stuff like that. Does that play into your mind as well, the fact that, you know, he's been managed and that he can go into the season and hopefully, you know, as you were saying there, replace... And I don't think it is 51 games, by the way, because I think Gini played 51 games, which is a hell of a lot of games, but I think he played a lot of those because there was no other midfielders. And of course he was fit and he was available. But Henderson, Fabinho were in defence and then they were injured. Had they been available to play midfield, I don't think Gini plays 51 games, so I don't think that's as bad as we think. So I don't think we need Naby and Ox for 51 games, but it's certainly a big chunk, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I've seen that little piece about it. It was fantastic. Yeah. The thing is with Ox, he's very similar to Gomez in that he doesn't get little injuries. He's just suffered some real big ones. And Ox has been fit for a long time. People just don't realise. I think it was December he came back against Palace, and he's pretty much been there. So if he's going to stick around and be in the squad, I'm happy for him to be, to be considered, because at the end of the day, he hasn't been injured for 8 months now. Kate is a funny one because he seems to get through pre-season fine. It's not like he's training like Ledley King 1 or 2 days a week, and it just seems to break down. So I think if we're going to keep them both, if we can get one player over the season out of them two, I think we've done really well. So if we can get, like you say, I agree, the 51 games was just because Gini did that, but we don't need that either. If we can get 40 games out of them both in terms of 40 starts maybe, and then they just chip in with substitute appearances and sort of give them minutes off for the other players, I think that's it. I think they've done their job there for the coming season. So.
Yeah. James, Ox also falls short because he's been tried in this false 9 position, and like obviously people are kicking off going, well, we're getting him instead of a striker. I don't think that's the case. I think it's also some of it is making a bit more versatile, giving a bit of an option, because if we do have midfielders, then he can do a job there. But also, Bobby's been away. There's basically a re-game. We don't have anyone else to play that central role. Taki played it the other day. So I think it's a bit unfair. I'm not saying you're doing this, by the way, just to kind of tar him with he's going to be the new number 9. I think that's going to give him confidence. And maybe that eye for goal that you were talking about before of, he did get a goal the other day. I mean, he couldn't have really missed, but he absolutely leathered that ball into the goal against Berlin. That's going to play into his mind going into the season, give him that confidence that maybe he needs.
Yeah, he's got it in his locker, and what I would, more than anything else, the manager trusts him and the manager believes in him, and that has to count for something. Sam said before, trust the club, trust the process, trust the management, and we kind of have to do that because we don't know, we're not privy to what goes on behind the scenes, and we don't know the work that he's putting in and in front of goal and trying to improve that side of his game. And if he if Oxlade-Chamberlain can come and get 5-10 goals this season, that's huge for us, because we haven't had that for the past couple of years. Midfielders and attacking midfielders certainly chipping in with goals. The pressure has been almost solely on our front four with Jota. Share that around a little bit, share the weight, and all of a sudden, you get to Christmas and you're in good shape. I like him. I like his attitude. I think, and his work rate. I think he's super. But there is a part of me that thinks he might be on his kind of, not sort of last chance, but I don't think there's years left in Oxlade-Chamberlain. I think this might be his kind of last hurrah with us. Maybe this season, perhaps next season. But yeah, I'd love to see him chip in and and start getting some goals, because he's a talented boy, and he's proved he can do it. So just get him up there.
Yeah. Georgia, pre-season's kind of going all right. It's hard to judge. If you don't win games, it's just for fitness and tactics. If you win your games, you're about to win the league and the Champions League and everything else. Kate has stuck out, as you mentioned there. Is anyone else stuck out that you've been impressed with, someone you want to see a bit more of this season?
I think that, like we said at the back, Konate has been really good, and it's been super exciting to see him at the back. And I think just his overall presence, it's like when we first got Van Dijk and we looked at him, it was like this silky smooth centre-back who's also 6 foot tall. Like, this is great. We've now also got this other absolute unit that's at the back that's also very athletic and is comfortable and can move. And I think that's exciting for us to now see. I mean, also Joe Gomez, we forget how good that boy is. Like, he's a very, very good centre-back. And to see him back as well, to see that we've now got 3 centre-backs, and we include Matip, but 3 of the kind of same style and same, it excites you. I think to see that, especially where we were last season, is definitely, something that I've been impressed by.
Yeah, and it's also just relieved our stress, Sam, hasn't it, of the back four. In fact, that stress has just gone from the defence to the midfield. I think this summer it's like, centre-back's kind of sorted. We've just got no midfielders anymore. But it also relieves the pressure on the likes of Van Dijk and Gomez with Konate coming in, doesn't it? Because, and Matip, touch wood, he's looked pretty good this pre-season. He stayed fit. He's played more than 10 minutes per game. And as far as we're aware, he's fine to play Bologna on Thursday as well. So, it's exciting to see Van Dijk and Gomez come to them in the second of having them back. But when you've got someone else and it solidifies that defence, and it's not Reece Williams, it's not Nat Phillips, which, don't discredit them. They don't suit our style, they don't suit our system, which means we can go into the season with, like as Georgia says, some experienced centre-backs who play our way. And one of the things that stuck out with Konate for me was he's got the pace to kind of run in behind. He's Van Dijk-esque in his style of play. I'm not going to compare the skills because that would be stupid because he's 22 and Van Dijk's the best in the world. But there was a moment where there was guy in behind and he just edged him off the ball, and it wasn't like desperation or inexperience for a 22-year-old, which I thought was quite impressive.
We all talked about it last year, didn't we? About how important the high line was and how it developed our game. And I'll be honest with you, probably guilty of it. I took our defensive solidarity it for granted. And last year it was a rude awakening as the new year came in, where we saw how easily our whole system and game starts to become exposed bit by bit by the fact that we didn't have these type of defenders anymore. And it was Henderson to Fabinho to Matip and Henderson, and then Phillips came in. It was crazy. So now having that additional player who absolutely suits what we do, pushes up the pitch a bit more, relievers will know about his pace. The way they will play will be a little bit different because they will also be aware of a ball in behind doesn't really mean anything because you've got a lad who's just as quick as the forward running back with you, much bigger, much stronger. So I think everything about what Konate brings, he's not the finished article. We know that. He's probably going to make the odd mistake, which we need to be prepared for. He's going to learn a lot, hopefully a lot of that, even with Matip. I think it's just about us just sort of letting him learn, letting him grow, or from having a player like him in our squad when we can't play Gomez or we can't play Van Dijk.
Yeah. And James, just before we go to another break, we have done some business this summer. We've done loads. We've got Konate in. Trent signed a new contract, and Alisson's supposed to be next. But I just want to dedicate a couple of minutes to just eulogising about Trent. I know I mentioned before it kind of came out of nowhere. I think Paul Gorse had mentioned it briefly a couple of months back. On a list of players that were going to get signed a new contract. But I'm just so happy for him. I think it's well deserved. I think his form, the way his rise, what he's done, what he brings to this team has been absolutely incredible. He had that moment where I'm not sure he was off. I just think it was the team wasn't right. Southgate didn't pick him. He got a big rest that he needed. He came back with fire in his belly, and he was amazing.
Yeah, I echo everything you just said. And let's not forget his best years are ahead of him as well. This is a kid who's already arguably one of the best fullbacks in the world, probably the best fullback in the world right now. Certainly the most exciting fullback in the world. Not even close to reach his potential. To be part of this team, to have a manager like he's got, to help him and help him grow and the physical side of his game, and he's future captain. Hands down, we're so blessed, we're so lucky to have a player like that, who is the loyalty to the club, and you heard in the comments he made when he signed his contract, he feels an immense sense of pride, and he doesn't take it for granted either. He knows how lucky he is, and he knows what this means. He's someone that you can rely on. He's someone that will give 110% every single game. I'm absolutely chuffed to bits. Really, really, really pleased.
Yeah, and Georgia, I think he said, or I think I've seen it said somewhere else, the club didn't have to do this. Like James said, he's still relatively young. He's on a massive wage for someone of that age. They could have done it like little bit by little bit. I think it was concerns of what happened with Gini, although he's obviously older. His last big contract for Liverpool to go down. There you go, you're our man, as James said, future captain. You're a role model. It's important to have local lads within this side, and he has produced. There's an extra incentive there to go and perform, and he's seen people that are 5 to 10 years his senior, and he's now on a similar wage to them. That's huge for him, isn't it?
It is, I think, as well. That's where he's going to be for the next few years. He knows that he can, he's reaching that age where he can start a family. He can lay his roots still in Liverpool, and that's massive for him to know this is where his home will be for years to come. And I think it cements what we all say behind the scenes of he's a club legend, he is the next captain, homegrown Scouse lad. It's that on paper now. That is a fact. He is the future of Liverpool, and he's the next thing that we all kind of invest in. So I think it's massive for him to get that, but it's a boost, I think, for us. I think fans need to kind of take that on board too, of what that can mean going forward.
Yeah, and Sam, the rumours are that Alisson's very close to being next. There's obviously a handful of others. Obviously, the front three are in conversation. But I'm not defending like the transfer business so far, but I think it's important to remember that these cost a lot of money, not just the wages. It's agents' fees, all that stuff that goes on top of giving someone a new contract. Even a sign-on fee for a new contract or a contract extension. It's it's a lot of money we're spending in them to try and secure those world-class players. Where in previous years that we would have just lost. I was having a conversation yesterday about losing Torres and Suarez and Sterling. The kind of list goes on. This is Liverpool now going, no, you're not touching our lads, so you can piss off.
Yeah, that's massively important. And I think what people need to realise is, for those who don't know, is when someone signs a new contract, the only difference between signing a player is that the third-party club doesn't get a fee. Everything else happens. The sign-on fee, the agent fees, everything that has to be paid is exactly the same as signing a new player, apart from the fact that the other club doesn't receive their instalment package. That's it. Everything's so it costs a lot of money, and I couldn't agree with you more. Alisson next, then I want to see Fabinho, because I think in terms of age-wise, they're the ones who we're going to have. Yeah, of course Salah, of course Mane, but I think that will come, and with their ages, I think that'll come naturally anyway. But we need to make sure we keep hold of the world-class players in our team, and we've got, would you say, 5, 6, 7 world-class players, people who you would consider in the absolute top bracket of the sport for their position. And I think we need to make sure that they're with Liverpool for the next 2 or 3 years, because as good as shiny new toys are, for me, retaining them, what we've got, is just as important.
Yeah, completely agree with that. Right, we're going to have a little break and then we'll go into some Premier League predictions. Includes title winners, top 4, bottom 3, surprise package, most red cards, Golden Boot winner, and some more. So get your thoughts in the comments below. We'll get to some of them. And for coming up, we have a Kenny Dalglish clip. We interviewed him for our Jordan Henderson documentary. There's a big chunk of it available on YouTube for free. You want to watch the whole thing, including Kenny, Klopp, Trent, as we were just talking about there as well. Jordan Henderson's dad. Honestly, it's like 3 hours of content. It's absolutely ridiculous. We're really proud of what we've made and what we created there. And you can get the individual interviews as well. But here's the one from Kenny.
I think it's a great compliment to himself that he's gone. The managers that have come in have been more than happy with him. And I think their decisions to keep him ultimately have proved to be correct, because the dressing room's a much better place with people like him and Millie and in the dressing room. You need a strong dressing room to be successful. I think the people that come in are made to feel very welcome, and although you have your own people in and around the dressing room that you're closer to than others, it doesn't matter. As the captain, he's got a lead role in there to get everybody together, and he's done that. And as I say, on the pitch, he stands up, and I think it's a great tribute to him as well. That I think a lot of people don't realise how important he is to the team until he's not there. And sometimes you see people playing, you take them for granted. And I think there'll be a lot of players who'll be like that. So I think Jordan has served his time brilliantly. And although he might say he's been truly happy working at Liverpool, it's Liverpool that should be grateful for somebody coming in and doing the work he's done, both on and off the pitch. And in a lot of times it's been trying times as well. It's no, sweetness and celebrations. Over the last 3 or 4 years, there's been huge success. But before that, it was a hard shift, and he came through it, and he's there. And I think everybody that's worked with him and for him on the pitch, I'll really stand up and say thanks very much, Jordan.
Yes, that is our interview with Kenny Dalglish. As I said, there's a big chunk of it on YouTube for free. You want to watch the whole thing. I think Kenny's about an hour, or maybe over an hour. Absolutely incredible, obviously, legend of the club. In there with Klopp, Trent, Gerrard is in there as well. Just absolutely loads of content. I do recommend it. We're going to get into some pre-season predictions. George, I'll go ladies first in this one. Feel free to play along at home, by the way. I know some of this will defend on transfer business, but we'll just either pretend that some stuff's going to happen that is pretty obvious it's going to happen at this point. But who would you put, if you were a betting woman, who would you say was your title winner for this season?
I'd love to say us. I would, because I do believe
say us then.
Season we've got a chance. But I am also going to throw in the mix of United or Chelsea. I think United, because of the signings they've made, it'd be ridiculous for them to not finish high up. And Chelsea, just because I think they're an exciting team that's coming into their stride now. But us,
He just dismissing Man City in that conversation as well.
Who was that?
just not in it. Sam, do you agree with that?
Slightly differently. No one's Man United have got Ollie, and I think that's always going to cost them the title. They've got some good players. I just think he's not a big man manager. He's too much of a yes man. And I think they'll lose Pogba, and I think that'll be actually more of a derailing than it should be. I just feel it will. I think he's a big personality there. I think it'll be us and City. I think at the moment City haven't signed anyone, so I actually fancy us. That could change, but as it stands, they haven't signed anybody, and I think what we've got now is potentially worth as many points, if not more, than they got last season. So I think I'm actually quite confident as we are that we can come back and take our title back. Chelsea United, top four, obviously. The top four is going to be miles away this year. Miles away.
Yeah. So, James, sorry, you're nodding along. You don't think Ollie's got the skill set to win anything with Manchester United? You look quite happy when he said that. So I guess you're ruling Man United out of a title challenge this season. Who would you chuck in there?
I agree with Georgia and Sam, to be honest. I think Georgia's right. I think Chelsea are really exciting. Got some great players, done really well. You can see the progression from Chelsea as well. And I think winning that Champions League will have been huge for them in terms of their confidence and everything going into this season. If City sign Grealish, that's going to make things a little bit trickier. But listen, like I said at the top of the show, if we keep everybody fit, we're still hands down the best team in the Premier League, and we'll win the league. If we keep everybody fit and we add one or two, then there's no question.
Yeah. Georgia, moving on to top four. I think Chelsea's an interesting conversation. Like James said, they obviously won the Champions League. They're going to be buoyed by that. I think they've had a couple of big reports suggest that they were praying for Lukaku, so they're obviously in for a striker. They've lost Olivier Giroud, so they need a goal scorer. They could also hope that Timo Werner decides to find the back of the net in most games and not miss sitters. But they're going to be dangerous, aren't they? And I think people always forget that they were so poor at the start of last season, obviously before Frank was giving it the big one and then conceded the goal and then got sacked. Tuchel's done a huge turnaround in terms of what that squad is about, how they play, and the mindset of those players, and that mindset of we've seen before of you win a Champions League. You talk about mindset. They're going to walk into this new season with a whole a swag almost.
Exactly, and you look at the England lads they've got in that side of Reece James, Mason Mount, obviously Ben Chilwell as well. They're full of confidence too. It seems like they've got a real good unit there. And like you said, the manager, he pipped Klopp for best German coach of the year, and rightly sent him at the moment. I think we're starting to see Chelsea kind of go to how we feared them kind of years gone by, but kind of with this new edge to them. I think the Werner conversation's interesting. I see if Lukaku does get in there, I think Werner starts to find his form again because that pressure's off him. I don't think he's quite ready for that pressure of being Chelsea's sole goal scorer. We've seen Kai Havertz pick up a few, in pre-season and obviously in the Champions League gone by. So I do think if they get Lukaku, I think they'll be a real dangerous squad this year.
Yeah, Sam, do you agree with that? And also, do you think this is potentially I want to say best, tightest close title race that we've had for a few years in terms of there's potentially four teams in the three because you dismissed Man United. There's three teams potentially in the mix for a title, which we haven't seen for 4 or 5 years maybe.
Yeah, theoretically we should have four tightly contested teams. Listen, United won't win the league, but it doesn't mean they won't sort of flirt with it for a while. I'm not saying they're going to finish 25 points behind. I don't think that. I just, that statement was more about when it comes down to the big moments. But see, with Chelsea, it's a funny one because I think the difference between when Liverpool won the Champions League in 2019 is that we were considered the best team in Europe. The performances, the teams we came across in the Champions League, what we did in the league, how unfortunate we were, how good City had to be to beat us. And compare that to Chelsea, who scraped fourth because Leicester bottled it and they won the Champions League on a strange season and the draw and neutral venue. I don't really think it's the same. If they get themselves in a bit of trouble and don't sign a striker, they'll finish fourth, in my opinion. If they do sign a striker, they might win the league. So it's really interesting. Now, everything that George says there could come to light, but if it doesn't happen for them because of the market, they could find themselves short, like we have been last year with the defence. So these last few weeks, mate, are going to really determine, I think, who does what business and how they do it, on how that top four sort of stacks up.
Yeah, it's interesting, James, isn't it? Because, we're, 11 days away from Liverpool playing 10 days till the season starts. And you kind of think most business will kind of be done. So, I mentioned before with Liverpool, but I suppose it's the same for Chelsea, United, City, of wanting to get business done as early as possible so they can get these players in. I know it's different when you're shopping for Lukaku, and, Chelsea have also been linked with Haaland as well. But other clubs, if they sell those players, need time to get other players back in. So we might see in the next week or so, hopefully, a really interesting activity in the transfer market.
Yeah, I don't. But equally, you have to remember the impact that the pandemic's had on not just Liverpool, but I mean basically every club, bar United and City is struggling, and abroad as well. The Italian teams, their revenue streams have been cut massively. So do you sell your star player even if you get a load of money for them? I'm not convinced you do, because I'm not sure who there's that many players out there that you could replace them. If Haaland gets sold, who do they replace him with? Who's available? It's tricky. It's a really, really tricky period for a lot of clubs. So whether you see huge bits of business, I'm not convinced. I do think Chelsea sign a striker though. What do you say?
Yeah, I was going to say, now you mentioned that, it's the same for Tottenham then. If they sell Harry Kane,
yeah,
who do you go and get? Who's out there?
Well, there's talk they want the Southampton captain. Was what I was hearing. James Ward-Prowse, they were sniffing around. Whether that happens, God knows.
Yeah, be interesting. James, I'm going to stick with you. I've got a feeling that your answer is going to be not arse, don't care, but bottom three for the Premier League season.
Norwich probably go straight back down. Who else came up? Brentford.
What? Yeah, and Watford was the other one.
And Watford. Yeah, Watford, Norwich, and Brentford.
They can all get in the bin, can't they? Yeah, okay. Georgia, any advance on those three?
Norwich, Brighton, Brentford. I think Watford scrape through.
Okay. So I'm just going to chuck a team in the mix here because I think it's dead interesting. It's Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace was the one I was going to go for. Rafa's Revolution's on the way, James. Don't say that. Crystal Palace, I just find that interesting. Obviously, Roy's gone, and so is half the squad. To be completely honest, Zaha said at the start of the window he wanted out as well. Just be interesting to see how they get on.
I couldn't agree more. I think I was going to say Palace is one of my three there. I think the amount of players they've lost and things like that, I think they're going to be in big trouble this year. They've kind of been down there a few times, haven't they? I'd say Palace. I think Newcastle will flirt down there again, but I'm going to go with Palace, Norwich and Watford. I actually think personally that Brentford, their little sort of revolution will continue and they'll have a good season this year. But equally, we've seen how quickly that can go tits up, haven't we? So, they could finish bottom on the worst ever points because they try and play the right way and get absolutely spanked. But I'd like to think that football will win for them this year and they'll stay up just.
Football's the winner. I'm going to go Palace, Norwich, and I'm going to put Burnley in there. I've just had enough of Burnley. Just the place, the team, the players. I quite like Sean Dyche, to be fair. I'm only joking. James Sutton, surprise package. This can be a team and or a player.
Surprise package. I fancy West Ham to do really well again this season. I think they'll kick on. I know that's not a massive surprise, probably, but
last season.
Yeah, but I expect them to kind of continue where they left off. I think it's a really, really exciting time. The manager is really, really suited to them. The fans are really excited. For the first time in a long time last year, they seem to have kind of clicked and gelled, and I'd expect them to push on. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're pushing sort of top 5, top 6, because they went on a really, really good run last year, and they were unlucky they sort of fell away a little bit, but. I'd expect them.
Do you think having fans back in their stadium could be disastrous for them, though?
Potentially, yeah. Yeah, the fans really don't like going to their stadium.
Have you just changed your mind?
Yeah, that's quite a huge thing when your fans actively resent your own football stadium. So that would be interesting to see. But yeah, I fancy West Ham to do some bits this season.
Good call. Georgia?
I completely go against what you said before. I think Crystal Palace. I think Patrick Vieira in that role, I think, is going to bring something. And when you actually look at the players they've brought in, they've brought in a real exciting kid from Redden who basically tore up the Championship last year. They've got Conor Gallagher from Chelsea, one of their young kind of stars in on loan. They've just bought another centre back from Chelsea, kind of one of their record signings, and by all accounts he's tipped to be the top. I think they've covered what they've lost, because to be honest, when you look, albeit from Townsend, maybe Van Aanholt to some extent, who did they? Sacco, Gary
all
Cahill.
dead old, weren't they? Yeah.
They've lost like real old kind of steady players that nobody really gets too excited about, and what they're bringing in is these young players who, it's a massive risk of what they're not proving in the Premier League. They're hit and miss, but it's kind of that Palace that we enjoyed with Zaha and Townsend, and that kind of exciting, forward line, that exciting kind of the midfield occasionally. I think that they're actually, if they get it right, and they could easily, they'll stay up, I think.
George, are you trying to suggest that a Roy Hodgson team is dull and lifeless?
I mean, a Roy Hodgson team with Gary Cahill at the back, dull and lifeless. No, not me. That is tiki taka. That's Brazil.
It's basically like a Shady Acres resort for old people, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, we'll cover that. Sam, surprise package, Sam.
I think Arsenal have a good season. I think they'll build again from where they were last year. They'll improve, but I wouldn't call them finishing maybe sixth a surprise package. I actually think Aston Villa will make the top 7 this year. I think Villa will lose Grealish and will make some smart buys. Who was it before? Was it you, James, was talking about they were also linked with Ward-Prowse. It'd be interesting to see who wins that race. They've got Buendia. I think they're linked with Tammy Abraham as well. They've got a few, obviously, to get 100 million off City. We'll obviously show them Origi and how shiny he is for 15 million, but so they might end up with someone like him. But I think what Dean Smith and what Villa will do is bring in smart players who will just enrich that team. Big loss with Grealish, but I think people will write them off. But I actually think they'll have a good season this year. They'll be nice and balanced across the park.
Okay, George, your face nearly folded back on itself when Sam said Arsenal will have a good season. Do you want to counter that point?
It's not that. It's just the fact that, like, when you think of Arsenal so long ago, like top 4 easily no brainer, and now the surprise is, they might get Europa League. Like, that's to be an Arsenal fan, it must be like Everton. Like, it must be like how they felt. I feel like that's how they feel.
Yeah, I'll take that. James, most red cards.
Fucking hell, I don't know. I don't know.
I gave you the agenda 2 hours ago. We could have looked up violent. Oh wait,
I slept through the agenda.
Oh, did you? So when you replied nice with a thumbs up emoji, it was like, yeah, fucking whatever, Ross.
Yeah, I did. I rolled over and went back to sleep.
Okay. Do you want to name a player? Anyone? Just anyone?
No.
Okay, Georgia.
That's not.
Ashley Young on his return, Crystal Palace. Feel like he'll just cause havoc.
When did that happen?
Yeah, it came on a free.
Did it? Yeah. Okay. Sam.
I'll go Varane.
Oh, nice. Is that because you just want him to get the most red cards?
Yeah,
I think he will.
Purely because I want him to.
He just wants to fail.
I hope he struggles. Yeah, like hell. So
do you think he will? And I mean this in terms of I saw some bad shouts. It was either Jamie O'Hara or Danny Mills, one of them mess off fucking TalkSport, just going, he's not established, whatever. But I think I don't think he found it struggle to acclimatise to the league. But when you play with Sergio Ramos week in, week out, and then you turn up and it's Harry Maguire, that's 2 different things, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a funny one because he should be good, but I think he's not what he was. I think he's actually sort of gone past where he was really, really good. Now he hasn't been that great last couple of years. Ramos was his sort of leader, and I do think the league will be different. And I think it'll, within the first 10 games, I think you'll see him make a few high-profile errors. But he should be able to come through that and learn. So that's my little gamble on red cards, is that his first 10 games he has a few howlers. Someone like a quick player, a Zaha or something like that. He's not used to that happening. When he's playing Getafe at home and having 75% possession every game, I just think it's going to be different. And because of the stages out of his career, I mean, look at Thiago Silva. He got absolutely rinsed a few times last year, didn't he, when he came in? A very experienced player. But yeah, he's one to watch, I think, to see how it goes for them. A lot of pressure on him.
Fingers crossed, Sam. James, last one. You're a betting man. Golden Boot winner for the Premier League.
I've been known to have a flutter.
Yeah. Golden Boot winner. Who's going to score the most goals?
Mohamed Salah.
Good answer.
Mohamed Salah. It's still the best striker in the Premier League.
What if Kane goes to City, Jay?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, if Kane goes to City, maybe. But I think, I still fancy Salah over everyone. You know, lay some respect on my man's name.
George, you nodded along with James there. Do you have respect for Mohamed Salah? Is he going to be top scorer?
I do. I lay lots of respect on Mo. Mo is, Mo's love, Mo's life. He's top draw. I don't see Harry Kane to City. Yeah, lots of tap-ins and the occasional. He might add a little something, but Mo Salah all day long.
Yeah, Sam.
Yeah, right now as it stands, I back Salah. If Kane goes to City, it's going to be Kane for me. But right now, Mohamed Salah, because he's still a Spurs player.
Okay, sound. Before we leave, we're just going to do some Liverpool-specific ones. We'll do this as a quick fire round, so sort of similar questions, but Liverpool players only. James, we've also Mo Salah, top scorer. Okay, most assists for Liverpool this season?
Trent.
Georgia?
Thiago.
Sam?
Trent.
Surprise package for Liverpool this season? James?
Harvey Elliott.
Shout. Georgia?
I'm going Jota.
Surprise package for Jota?
Yeah, because I need him to be a standout performer. He's going to do that this year.
Okay, well, hopefully he won't get played in a game that doesn't matter and get injured for 3 months. Sam?
Keita.
Oh, he's putting his balls out on the line. Best youth. Yeah. Best youth player, James.
Good question. Harvey Elliott.
Thanks. Georgia?
Harvey Elliott, all day.
Yeah. Sam?
Yeah, if we can't say Jones, it's got to be Elliott, hasn't it?
Yeah, I thought it was no one else. There's no one else, is there really? Most bookings or red cards for Liverpool, James Sutton.
Thiago.
Fuck effort to Thiago, yeah. Georgia, yeah. Sam?
Fabinho.
Oh, Fabinho, yeah, he loves a shit house tackle, doesn't he? I want to go Robertson on that one because I just think we're going to get that gnarly Robertson back, and I absolutely love it. Standout performer, James.
It's a toss up between Mohamed Salah and Thiago Alcantara.
Ooh, yeah, like that. Georgia.
I think Alisson. I think he'll be the thing that differentiates us from everyone else.
Nice. Sam.
Thiago. I think he'll have a great season.
Sound. Just a question before I do the last one. What's everyone's predictions for Bobby Firmino next season? James, he's obviously had a torrid time last season. I think loads of people think he's on the decline. It's obviously a bit of a gamble. So I know this is guesswork, but I think having a midfield behind him that was actually meant to be a midfield will benefit him. Having a big rest will benefit him. Having that rotational play, as Georgia mentioned there, for Jota coming in for a sustained period at the league will benefit him. What's your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. I think he was one of the players who suffered the most because of all the problems that we've kind of listed, starting with our defence and how that kind of filtered through the team, and what not having a solid defence meant to the midfield, what not having midfielders playing in midfield meant for the strikers. The way that Bobby plays and the way he exists on the pitch, he was one of the most effective players, I think. And also, he just looked fucking shattered for most of the season. So a little bit of a rest, obviously, did well over in over in Brazil. I expect big things from him, and I don't expect him to disappoint either.
Do you agree with that, George? Is Bobby coming back?
Completely. I think he's coming back with whiter teeth, doing no-look passes and twinkle toes around Newcastle before we know it.
I don't think whiter teeth is possible with him. Sam, where are you at with Bobby? Do you think he's possibly on the decline, or is he just like James said? Do you?
I think the 1920 season was more damn. I'm not looking at last year for every reason that you guys have just said. I agree with you on that, but I look a bit further beyond. I think his role is now much more popular in the league, and I think he's no longer sort of an anomaly. He's no longer an enigma. I think great player. I think he's got a place in our squad for the next couple of seasons. I think if we do the right business in the next couple of weeks, he'll find himself on the bench a bit more than he has been before.
Yeah, perfect. Last question. Number of trophies for Liverpool Football Club this season, James Sutton.
I'd love us to have a nice FA Cup run. For, that I'd really like that. I know it's not, it's not the most popular of trophies anymore, but I'd love us to have a good go at that. 2. I think we win 2 trophies. I think we win the Premier League and/or one of the others.
Ooh, I'll take that. Georgia?
I said 2. I think Champions League, and like James said, I'd like a good FA Cup run. If we won the FA Cup, I'd be quite buzzing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'd be buzzing if we won the league and the Champions League, but I do take it. There's a lot of snobbery towards the FA Cup, isn't there? What's the other one? The Carabao Cup.
Carabao we're not
City's Cup, that is now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the City Cup. Yeah. Sam, how many trophies?
I think we'll do well to win one. I think I back us to push the league again. I think it'll be very difficult this year for there's a lot of good teams around the league. Someone in this country's win the Champions League this year again, though.
Okay, I'll take a bit of that. We're going to wrap things up there. There are our season predictions for the upcoming season for Liverpool and for the league. Get yours in the comments below. I'll get Tom to put the questions in the description so you can play along at home as well. If you don't want to do that, I'll put a question out on Twitter this morning so you can jump on that at theredmentv.com as well. Before we go, I'm going to give one more push to this Jordan Henderson book. James, Georgia, you'll be getting yours soon. Sam, I'll save. You looked at sad then. I'll save one for you as well. I'll put it with last season's book, which has been on my desk for a year, which you keep meaning to fucking go and pick up. If you want to get yours, they're available on RMTVmerch.com right now. The link is in the description and in the live chat. There's some standard copies and there's limited edition signed copies as well. So go and get them. And here's the advert once more. We'll see you soon. Ta-ra.
Hey everyone, our brand new book has landed. Hendo, 10 Years a Red, premium collector's edition, the definitive Jordan Henderson collection in A4 size, 200 pages, full colour, incredible insight, in-depth knowledge and the stories of his rise from a young boy in Sunderland all the way through their academy to the Premier League, taking the captain's armband, becoming the captain and leading Liverpool to be champions of everything and beyond as well. It's got his greatest moments season on season, some incredible, unique, phenomenal custom artwork from some of the best Liverpool artists on the scene, incredible high definition photos of his best moments as well. It is an incredible Jordan Henderson collection and it fits right in your hands just about. It is a behemoth of a book. It is incredible and it is available right now. You can get it and you can learn more about the Liverpool skipper from the people who are closest to him on that journey, friends, family, coaches, players and managers. Yes, it is Hendo, 10 Years of Red, and it is available right now on redmenmerch.com. Get involved.